So, welcome to the Pursuit of Truth. I thought I'd go through another. I need to find a different word than conspiracies. So I thought I'd talk about flat Earth. Well, I suppose like most of it will be my own reasoning for why I consider the idea of flat Earth being possible. And a lot of these came about from watching YouTube and not really ever considering these facts myself. You know, it was only when it was brought to my attention that I realised, wait a minute, I never thought about that. And the first one obviously is bendy water. And even when they said it, I didn't really think about it until I just realised, wait a minute, all these years I've been looking at this picture of a globe and I never ever thought about the water as bent, because you've got huge amounts of the earth that's mostly covered in water, if that picture is true, and obviously it has huge amounts around the curves, so that means the water bends. And yet I've never ever seen bendy water. And it seems so amazing to think that I've never ever thought of that until someone just said it. How is that possible? How is it possible that I could see something all the time? How many times, as a child, I used to be, I loved space, and I remember one of the projects I did, I drew all the planets, including Pluto back then when it was a planet. And I remember I had a solar system thing, I had books. I remember my dad had Cosmos, is that by Carl Sagan? I'm not sure if that is the one. I used to like looking through that book. I was fascinated by space. I made this animation 8mm film called Planet X, which was flying to this mystery planet, I assume, behind Pluto, the 10th planet. Yeah, so it's amazing to think, because even as a child, you could say, well, why would you ever think about that? You're just taught and you believe. But as an adult, I never looked at that picture and ever thought about, oh yeah, the water's bent, and the land is bent as well, because it's on a globe. It's on a sphere, or now it's like a pear shape, isn't it? From the bottom. So that's the first thing, bendy water. The other thing that sort of goes along with that is no visible curve. I've never seen, and I never ever thought about it before until it was mentioned. There's another one that I've never thought that, well, I've never actually seen a curve. Why have I never ever seen a curve? I mean, obviously I assume I may have put it down to the fact that, well, the Earth's huge, so it's not necessary that you would see a curve, because it's the curve would straighten out over, because it's so big. And this is where it comes a little bit problematic when we come to these calculators of finding out how much curve there is, because it all depends on the calculations of how big the Earth is. I don't know how they ever mapped out or how they know how big things are, but they have a way of doing it, and using that they've calculated that there should be a certain amount of curve. And I've seen lots of pictures that are over distances where you shouldn't be able to see the bottoms of things. I mean, I suppose the thing is only when you see these things with your own eyes will you then realise that, wait a minute, how can I see so far? Now, the problem is then people say, well, why can't you see Spain or France or whatever? Obviously, our eyes, and this is part of the problem both ways of the story, either global or flat Earth, whichever you're going to look at it, is not everything as it appears. Our eyes play tricks with us. We know that there's such things as optical illusions. We know our eyes can be tricked. We know our eyes have limits. Why can't I know that if I look out the window, I know there's places further than this. If I just went on my own eyes, I would think this is the end of the world that I can see. But it's not, because if I keep walking, I see more of it. It's not that it disappears, it's just my eyes cannot see that far. and we also know about the vanishing point. I never realised that, to be honest. I mean, I did it in. I remember doing it in design when we used to have to draw boxes, you know, with a vanishing point for perspective, and I never really realised that everything, when you look far enough, it goes into a point. Yeah. So there's lots of optical illusions that can be created, and even with technology. Well, I suppose this brings on to the next one, that the fallacy of the experiment that even to this day they use to explain the globe Earth, which is that if you watch ships going over the horizon, they go, was it a bow first, then the mast, and this is a false. It is not true, because yes, that's because they were using their eyes, which I've already explained, to have their limits, and that's what they saw. But now we have cameras, and we can stand in the same place. A person with his eyes can see that, and then the person next to him can have a camera and can then zoom in, and the ship's back on the level of the sea. So that I don't understand why. And I have seen videos dated 2018. These are modern videos that still use that as a proof. Now that concerns me. That, you know, whether you believe in I mean, you could argue that away if you believed in the globe Earth, in the sense that, yeah, that's how people in the past used to believe things, and yeah, that's wrong and it should be updated. But the fact is, why is it still being taught? I don't know if it's still being taught in schools. I don't ever remember being taught about that. But then maybe that's to do with my school rather than me remembering things. So yeah, that is troubling that is still used as an example of how you can tell the Earth is round. And I guess as the future continues, as we get, you know, obviously we didn't have access to cameras, you know, 50 years ago. What will we have access? Now we have access to you know, different things, different technologies. In the future, we may have, you know, some kind of drone or device that we can fly high enough that we can fly all around the, I was going to say the world, all around this existence, and be able to, you know, not to have to fill out forms, you know, because of not being able to go to Antarctica. That's another thing. It rings alarm bells to anyone who knows, who follows conspiracies and things, and logic as well. Because a lot of this I try to look through from logical perspectives, and there are, you know, they're both either way that I can argue both. The logic perspective of why is Antarctica? Why do you have to have permits? Why is it, you know, that we can't just go there? Why is it has to be, you know, I know the argument that people will say, oh, it's because it's wildlife or a special area. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. When has human beings ever been like that? They don't give a... They do not. we put up buildings, we have cars, they pollute all the time. We have these agreements to climate and all that kind of stuff, but that doesn't stop us building more cars and polluting them. Yeah, we will do something about it, but we do it so slowly. If we cared about all that kind of stuff, we wouldn't be cutting down trees, we wouldn't be killing animals to eat them, we wouldn't be doing all the things that we do all the time, even the ones that wear the white hats. Yeah? So don't tell me that all these countries that hate, and a lot of them that, you know, don't even get on with each other, they all sign an agreement that no one is allowed to go into Antarctica. Why? Why do they want us not to be able to go there? I mean, a lot of us won't be able to go there anyway because it's so bloody cold and it's ice. But what's so important about what's there? Because obviously, through a flat Earth perspective, that's believe that Antarctic is not as it's shown on the globe, that it's actually going all the way around, and what encases us in. Because that's another thing, whenever you see flat Earth, and I'm sure even I thought about it when it first, you know, I saw these YouTube videos when I was looking at 9/11 videos and stuff, and I thought, this is a psyop, or it's, you know, this is too far to go. But it's because you always believe, you know, like the pictures of oh, the Earth can't be flat because I remember saying, joking this as a child, the Earth can't be flat because you'd fall off. not realizing that the Earth, you could use that for a ball. You fall off a ball as well, isn't it? If it's round. The fact that it's square or flat or round doesn't make any difference. What keeps you from falling off a ball? If you stand on a ball, would you fall off? If you stand off the flat, would you fall off? Yeah, obviously you'd fall off either of them if there wasn't something to keep you there. Which obviously in the aspects of the globe, it's gravity. Gravity stops us from falling off a ball, because a ball is easier to fall off than a flat, isn't it? And that leads me to another thing, that if you were to create your own world, if as a man, you would create it as a flat and not as a globe, because it's so much more difficult. If you look around you, you see everything is flat. Train tracks are flat, buildings are flat. There's no round buildings, are there? The floor that you're walking on now is flat, and they try to make it as flat as possible to make the journey easier. You don't have big round bits. The only big round bits you have are hills that they can't flatten. And for those, what do? They drill through them, and you go in between them, isn't it? Rather than going over the circle of the hill. We in ourselves, when we're developing things, everything's based on flat. I mean, yeah, there will be other things, but what I mean is, if you think about it, it makes much more sense. And if you believe in a creator, if you believe in God, then why would he do something that would be unnecessarily more difficult than something that's really easy and just make everything flat? So gravity, we've mentioned that as well. Gravity, I didn't realise this until I started researching flat Earth. Well, I'm sure I did, but I didn't really think about it in the sense of that it is the theory of gravity, like it's the theory of relativity. They're theories, they can't be proven because, their argument would be they're too big scale. You can't just create a planet and work it out. But the thing is that no one can prove gravity on the Earth with things. And if you think about, a lot of people that believe that it's not gravity, that it's actually buoyancy and density. How heavy you are, that's what keeps you on the floor. Otherwise, if I'm standing next to a huge great skyscraper and it's a mass, why am I not being attracted to it? Because they believe that gravity, the bigger mass, pulls on the other one, or they keep themselves, like a magnet type of effect. Why is that not happening? It only ever happens on planet scale. I guess also the thing is aeroplanes. If you're thinking about, and I never thought about this, and I've been on a few aeroplanes, but the fact that they fly straight, they go up, they go straight, and they go down. I mean, they do turn, obviously, but they keep themselves level, and they keep themselves level for a long, long time, as much as possible. Whereas if you're going past continents, you should be, and you're going on a circle, you should be dipping all the time to get round that circle, isn't it? Whereas they just go flat, which makes you suggest that, well, I mean, I know the argument's going to be gravity again. What's gravity? So gravity won't make any difference on the Earth when this plane is on there. It's not pushing it down, but as soon as it gets up in the air, it's pushing it down to keep it level. So it's pushing it round the curve. And I suppose the biggest thing, and I'm sure I will come back to this again, like I did with the moon landing, one of the biggest things, and this is, the thing is about what you can see. But again, of course, there's always a limitation, you can't always see everything, so can you trust your eyes? But then again, can you trust other people? And this is the problem, is we get taught this as a child. Where did I get my knowledge of the Earth being round? And I don't know, who was I listening to? It was, I don't remember who it was now. I was listening to someone this morning. I don't know if it was on Jamie Brown or it was on Mel Beauregard. I don't remember whose it was now, or Flat Earth Dude, was it? I don't think I watched all of that. I don't remember who I was listening to. No, it wasn't him. because I remember not finishing that. It was someone. Could have been Subtle Infinity. But they were showing how, and I think it was Jamie Brown. It was about a kid drawing a globe. Yeah, it was Jamie Brown. I don't think it was Hope for Truth that was speaking to him, or Jonathan. I can't remember who. These are on YouTube, by the way. He was explaining how the kid had drawn a globe, and then on top of the globe they'd put little stick men, you know. And I'm just thinking that obviously as a child that's when we get taught these things, and the big thing of why would people, well, why did I believe the earth? Despite, like I'm telling you, I never realised there was bendy water, bendy land, or you know, gravity is not a fact, it's a theory, it can't be proven, so we don't, it's like evolution. But we're taught it as fact. That word of theory isn't explained, or is, you know, it's not made a big deal of, because everything you're taught at school you believe to be true, you believe to be fact, isn't it? That's how we're educated. We don't, you know, you don't go in as a 5-year-old and say, well, no, I want to question that. You know, well, is that true? Can you prove it to me? No, like a sponge, we suck it up. So to believe in a lie is very, very easy. And examples are, well, do you think you have been lied to convincingly? Have you been lied to? Well, if you think about it, as a child you have. Most children believe in Father Christmas, the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, and lots of other things that are not true. And through years, and that's because we're not actually keeping it as a lie. It's like, not a joke, but parents, you know, they as the child grows up, the child learns that it's the parents doing it. Or, sorry if there's a spoiler there, actually there's a spoiler alert, just in case there is any young listeners. But that's a form of lying, isn't it? We are lying to our children. I mean, it's not truthful. Father Christmas, Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, they don't exist, do they? They are forms of imagination. They are things that we've made up for the pleasure of children so that they can be excited about something. But it's not true. You can't argue that it's true. It is a falsehood. You are telling lies. Now, you may sugarcoat it in any way that you wish, but you can't start saying that you're not telling lies to your children. Yes, you are telling lies to your children. You may have reasons for it, and it may be a nice lie, you know, because it benefits them to believe in fantasy and it gives them imagination, etc. But it isn't true. So that shows that as a young age you're susceptible to being told lies and you believe them. And then as an adult, the easiest one to think about is the lottery or gambling. I was thinking about this, you know, every time I think about, their big advert, you know, like there's £100 million you can win or whatever, a stupid amount of money, and you start thinking about, you know, if you won, what you do with it all. Whereas, you know, you have the statistics are that you're more likely, I think, to be struck by lightning twice before you win the national lottery. You've got a lot less odds of being run over than you have of winning the lottery. But it's in your mind, you believe you have an equal chance as everyone else, which technically, statistically, you probably do, because you could pick the numbers, anyone could do. But the chances of you doing that are millions to one, because there's so many combinations, so many numbers. But still, how many million people are doing the lottery? And if you just take that, what about gambling in itself? Everyone knows that the den, the people who own the gambling establishments are the winners. The people who bet the money, the amount of winners there are to losers, you know who's winning all the money. Horse racing, you know, all sorts of football, whatever you gamble on. So you're telling me you haven't been lied to, you haven't convinced yourself of something that's not true, that you believe that you can win, and that if you keep spending all this money, you will. How many people have done the lottery since it began and have not won anything, and will go to their graves with never winning anything? They actually would have made more money by keeping that money. So you have already been lied to. You've been convinced of something that's not true, because wish fulfillment. It's a bit like Father Christmas and etc. So we as humans, yes, we can be programmed, we can believe in lies without even knowing that we're believing in the lie. The lie of gambling, that you have a good chance of winning, that is a lie. You do not have a good chance of winning. you're more likely to lose money than you are to win. So whether this goes to the why, that why would these people lie? A lot of them will be convinced themselves that they're not involved in a lie, like I was. I never thought of all these things, even further than flat Earth. I believe these things to be true because I watch television, I go to school, I listen to people in authority, and I believe them. Why would I not? Because that's how we're programmed. We're programmed to believe people, to believe the good in them, that they wouldn't do these bad things. That's why it's always horrendous when we find out something bad, that we think, oh my God, how could they possibly do that? And that is always the troubling part with me, is the why. Because I do think that way. I think, what would be the purpose of of the people lying? And the thing is, like, also because it's nationwide. But then, is it really nationwide? I mean, a lot of people wouldn't even think about this stuff, so people say, well, why aren't countries, even I've said it, why aren't like North Korea or Russia whistleblowing this kind of stuff? Because no one even thinks about it. I don't think about it. I never thought about it as a lie. It never even crossed my mind until someone made me think about it. Well, not made me, but made me aware of it. So for a lot of people, they won't even be considering it. A lot of people, if they're listening to this, wouldn't even be considering this, and probably even after I stop speaking, it still then won't even consider it. So I don't think you need that many people to believe in the lie. And obviously there are some people that will, you can benefit, like say for NASA, for example, which must be the major player in it, because they're the ones that give all the pictures, the major pictures. Yes, there are other agencies out there, but I'm sure they're linked to NASA in some way or another. Even the ESA, I'm sure that is linked to NASA. I'm sure they give them money. I'm sure there's links, and obviously there's China and India. I believe they have space programs. Obviously India's always been pretty pally with America. The thing is, I can't remember whether it was allegedly Dave or someone I heard talk about, this question of why, and they were saying about, well, when a theory comes into place, and this is even provable in science, you get a theory and then people just stand behind it. So it's easy to convince someone, like I was thinking today, if Einstein said something, you would just believe it. It wouldn't matter whether it was nonsensical or not. You would believe it because you believe him to be the most intelligent man that ever lived, or he was, the father of physics or whatever you want to call him. You would believe him, isn't it? Same with Stephen Hawking. If he said something, you believe it because that's part of how he's been developed, isn't it, as being the most intelligent person since Einstein. So it wouldn't matter what he said, you would believe it because he said it. We are very sheep-like, isn't it, in the way that we follow without questioning, because we're taught about these. We have this idea, and I think it's comes from childhood as well, like fireman, policeman, scientist, doctor, roles of authority that you will follow even in later life, despite the things that they may not, they will do that possibly won't be for the best of your interests. So you get back to why. If NASA is the main ones involved, and like I'm saying earlier, I was saying about the idea that when someone comes up with a theory and people will back it, yeah, and then when people question it, those people who are backing it will help out, despite why they're that interested in it, but they will because they believe it to be true, even if it's not their idea. And then to convince someone that no, that's wrong, but this is right, is a very, like I think that there's in science that it says that first you have to go through, be refused, and then through time it's accepted, and then it's changed. But it's a long process. People, yourself, people don't just change their mindsets just like that. If you tell them they're wrong, even if you know 100% they are wrong, do you know how difficult it is to convince someone that they're wrong, even in mundane things? So imagine something that's bigger than this scale. So the fact is, you wouldn't question it. It's like me, I never questioned it. I was told the earth was round, I never even thought about questioning it. So I don't think it is that difficult. The major thing is like different different people in different fields to do with space around the world, why they don't say anything about it. But then I suppose the only ones who could really ever say anything about it are the ones who ever go up in space, because you have to go up high enough to be able to see the curvature. So only those ones, and they're only, if you think about it, they're actually only a handful of people, isn't it? They can be paid, they can be replaced, they can be killed off, you know. But that's easy, isn't it? Because there's only, how many people have actually been out of space? Are we talking less than 100 people? That's not that many to keep silent or keep convinced, or maybe even convince them that, you know, I don't know how you would lie to them, make out that they went out to space but they didn't really. But what I mean is, it's not millions like people often believe. That it's billions and millions of people that would have to make this lie. Even world leaders. You know, you think, why aren't they shouting out from the rooftops, no, the Earth's flat or not round? Well, because like me, why would they ever consider it? The only people who are ever going to have the opportunity to lie are those ones who are invested into space. I mean, the minute you have a picture of the Earth and you're shown that as a child, and every single one of us has been shown that as a child, I don't think is there anyone who hasn't seen a picture of the Earth? Obviously, then you believe it, isn't it? But you've got to remember, that's been done to us before. We've been shown a picture of Father Christmas. He doesn't even exist. We've been shown pictures of Jesus, and he's always white and non-Jewish. We've been shown pictures of the Easter Bunny and the Loch Ness Monster. So just remember, just because you're shown something, it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. I guess the only real way we can ever see what is true is through ourselves. But then again, even if I could see the truth, if I went up and if, you know, suddenly I won millions of pounds and I managed to get a rocket and go up there, and then I actually found out the Earth was round, then Flat Earth would say, no, I'm a shill, or no, I've been paid. If I ever went up in the Earth and then I saw that it was flat, they would say, the other side would say the same thing. I know he's just saying it. He's making it up because he was a flat earther. Unfortunately, as individuals or as organisations or groups, the only way we could ever do it is if everyone sees it for themselves. Because we realise now that we can be manipulated. We can't just believe what people show us or say to us, because we know that humans lie, and we have been lied to. And in this generation, more than any other, we've seen the lie, and now we can't just be exposed to it so easily. And that's right, we shouldn't be. We should always be questioning everything now. Anyway, take care, take it easy. God bless and peace.